Hi, this is Kathy Yaffa with School Spotlight. Today I'm here at the Briscoe Middle School in Beverly, and I'm going to get myself buzzed in, check in the office, and I'll meet you there. Hi, this is Kathy Yaffa again, and now I am in the office with Mr. Matt Poska, who is the principal here at the Briscoe Middle School in Beverly. And he's going to tell us a little bit about what we are going to see today on our tour of Briscoe.
Good morning, Kathy. Thanks for coming. We're really excited to have BevCam here and as part of the School Spotlight series. Today we're going to visit 4 classes. We have Miss Spoon, our grade 6 math teacher. We'll be in there. She's doing some small group work regarding fractions. From there, we're going to go to a grade 8 science class where we'll see Miss Curtis's class. I think you'll learn science by doing science, so they're going to be in the middle of an experiment with some water and some measuring. We'll also go to a grade 7 Spanish class. Miss Ames is preparing her students to go on a field trip next week, so they're working on their laptops to do some more investigation regarding some of the aspects of the Spanish culture that they're going to see when they go on their field trip. And lastly, we're going to go to a grade 7 English class, Miss Legue's class, in preparation for their field trip in December to see A Christmas Carol at the North Shore Music Theater. They're doing the play, The Christmas Carol, in class, so you're going to see some of that being acted out in the vocabulary that goes with that curriculum being discussed and implemented as well.
Well, thank you. We look forward to our tour. So onward and definitely in this building, upward.
Thank you.
We took a pre-assessment on adding and subtracting fractions. And so I've grouped you according to that pre-assessment. I'm going to have some people go in the hall and do some paper slideshows on what they know. So I have a group that's going to show us mixed number subtraction with borrowing. And I have a group that's going to put on their paper slideshows mixed number addition. And those are the areas that are sometimes give us the pitfalls of adding and subtracting fractions. So when we start out with fractions, and we're starting off with mixed numbers, a few of the steps are exactly the same. So you are going to start off all together, and then we're going to break off, and I'm going to do some with this group and some with this group, and you're going to practice. Okay, but we're going to start off all together. So what's the first rule of adding and subtracting fractions? What's the most important rule? Awesome. Abby? The denominator has to be the same. Is that what you guys are going to say? Denominator has to be the same? Yes?
Now I am here with grade 6 math teacher Beth Spoon, whose math class we saw today. And the students were doing mixed numbers, which involved, I guess, whole numbers and fractions. And she's going to tell us a little bit about what that lesson was that we saw today.
Okay, well, I gave the kids a pre-assessment yesterday to see who remembers adding and subtracting mixed numbers and who needs a little bit of a refresher. And it was subtracting and adding, so I wanted to make sure I knew who needed help with maybe everything, who needed just help with subtraction, and who didn't need help at all. And so I ended up with 3 groups, and the kids who understand it very well and didn't make any mistakes on the pre-assessment do not need a refresher lesson. So they are making their own refresher lesson in the hall with paper slideshows. So that's when a group of students, they write themselves a script, and they're explaining how to do the process of, in this case, adding mixed numbers.
Now, they obviously had this lesson somewhere before.
In 5th grade.
Okay.
So this is my way of checking to make sure this is adding and subtracting fractions is something they will see continuously throughout their math education. And so I want to make sure that that stays fresh for them and that they have an opportunity to keep practicing it, and if they have some misconceptions that we can resolve those for them. So
as a result of the pre-assessment, you separated them into
3 groups.
3 groups.
Yes.
Okay, the ones that didn't need any help, so they actually became creative mathematicians, so to speak, and put together a slideshow? Slideshow that could be used as a refresher for some of the other students.
And I'll publish those slideshows on our website.
Now, does your class have a website?
Yes.
Oh,
we do.
Great. And so, and you manage the website, or?
We do as a team manage the website together.
Okay.
But we each have a page on it, so I have
When you say each, you mean?
the 4 teachers on the team.
Okay, all right. So this would be published on the math
Page.
team's website.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So the kids get a little boost.
They can
from-
watch themselves, or if they're having trouble, they can watch their peers
Very
explain
good.
how to do the process.
And what were the other 2 groups?
So the other 2 groups were kids who really had a difficult time remembering the basic steps of adding and subtracting fractions. And then the second group over was kids who they've got the basics that they need to have, but they missed a step on a more a problem that often has some misconceptions attached to it.
Okay, something more sophisticated.
Something more sophisticated. And so they really just needed to brush up. So I started the lesson off with something everyone could review at the same time. So some things that were similar to the 2 types of problems. And so that's how I kind of combined those 2 groups. And then once I got to that intricate piece for that second group, I let them go off and practice. And then that original group that I started off with, who needed help on all of it, we started working on those concepts together while the other group practiced.
So this was really a review.
Yes.
And going forward, what does the curriculum look like?
We're in our fraction operations unit right now. So we're going to be teaching them, refreshing them on multiplication of fractions, and then teaching them division of fractions. But we have to keep on going over things like, adding and subtracting decimals, those basic things, because they're going to see them as our concepts get more involved. They incorporate adding and subtracting fractions along with the new concept. So for instance, in our algebra unit, students might be solving an algebra problem, and it will require them to solve for the variable using those fractions. And if they don't remember how to add and subtract them, they'll be stuck. So.
Well, I haven't done the adding and subtracting of fractions in a long time myself, and I was like, well, I think I remember that. Okay,
we forget if we don't use it.
Yes, that's exactly what happens. Now, you were doing mostly a skill set. Do they move on to verbal problems?
Next thing is for them to have, we have another class is up there practicing right now. We use a graphic organizer teaching them how to solve problems. So they'll get fractions in a real world situation, and they'll be required to figure out whether they're going to add or subtract and what numbers they need and what they don't. So.
And doing all that without little calculators and
Exactly.
computers and all of that. Well, great.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, they seem to be very engaged.
Yes.
And seem to know pretty much what they were doing. So you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
And thanks a lot for letting us come and visit you today.
Thanks for coming.
Buenos días y bienvenidos a la clase de español.
I'm here now with grade 7 Spanish teacher, Lydia Ames. And we saw a little bit of what was going on in your classroom today. Everybody looked very intent on what they were doing on their laptops. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the lesson that was going on today.
Okay, well, today students were looking at 3 aspects of Mexican and also in general Spanish culture that we've been working on. They've been working on a study of the Day of the Dead, which is a holiday that's celebrated in early November. And then they were also thinking about the bullfighting debate, which has kind of been heating up in a lot of Spanish-speaking countries. And then finally, we were looking really specifically today at the song Cielito Lindo, which is a very famous mariachi song that's really important in Mexico. So they were working with the laptops, doing kind of, a web quest. They had some specific things that we wanted them to take out of the lesson, about this culture, about the particular pieces. And so they were using whatever resources they could to find some of that information. And then we had also chosen some video clips, some songs for them to listen to kind of enhance that, get some of that information.
And I assume they were doing all this in English, not yet in Spanish.
It's a little bit of both. As far when we're talking about the bullfighting debate, a lot of that was in English, or it was news clips from Spanish countries that had been, that were subtitled so that they could understand it. When we look at songs, we really try to have them do a little bit of some of their own knowledge, and then we'll give them some of the pieces that they're missing. But yeah, right from the beginning, we really try to embed a lot of Spanish content in there, even when it's about culture. So.
And for the language part of it, do they concentrate on spoken language or written or?
Yeah, I would say, we have a big focus on the communicative approach for language. So it's very different from how their parents probably learned foreign language, where there was a lot of emphasis on learning the grammar and the writing. Now, obviously those things are important, but we really want the students to be able to use language in the real world. So can they listen and understand what they're hearing? That's one element. Can they speak and be understood? Can they read and get some information out of that? The writing, obviously, can they write? Can someone understand it? And then the culture is, also a big part of that too. So that's really what we're working on, those 5 pieces.
And is this the first year of Spanish study for most of the students, or have they had it before?
For most students, it is the first year, although we have some students who begin foreign language in the 6th grade also.
Okay, so if they start in the 6th grade, do they then go into your class with the other students who haven't had Spanish? Or?
No, students who begin in the 6th grade remain together as a cohort. So they do 3 years of language study, and they enter the high school or wherever they go after that at a level 3 in terms of their language. Most students who start in 7th grade would be ready for a level 2 when they get to the high school.
And what would you describe your curriculum as in terms of what level the kids are at by the time they finish your class?
Our general scope and sequence, we really, in the 7th grade, the first year, we want students to come away with a big base of vocabulary, about 500 words, and most of them are about topics that are, of personal interest to them. So family, food, my school, my life as a student. In addition, we want them to have a good, firm grasp of the present tense. That's the goal for the first year. Then moving into the 2nd year, we're adding more vocabulary again, and we're getting a little more complicated. Can we use the past tense? Can we start to express some of our opinions and our feelings in the language? So.
And I hear you have a field trip coming up.
We do, and that's actually why the students were looking at these aspects of Mexico. A new movie's coming out came out that's called The Book of Life, and it's a Disney movie, and it has to do with Mexico, and specifically the Day of the Dead and bullfighting and some of the traditional songs from Mexico. So the students are really excited. We're taking 318 Spanish students to Hollywood Hits on Monday to watch it. So,
that should be fun.
Yes, very fun. We're very excited.
And the kids seem very interested.
Well, technology will do that. Yeah, we really we have these laptops through a grant from that we got several years ago, and so we rotate the laptop cart through the foreign language teachers. So each week you have 1 day per week to use them.
So you have 1 foreign language cart, technology cart.
5 foreign language teachers.
And 5 foreign language teachers, so you get it
once per week.
Okay,
yeah, so the students really look forward to that day.
Yes. Okay. So how would I say the thank you in Spanish?
You'd say muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
De nada.
Density equals mass divided by volume, right? So plug in the numbers that you're going to use. So what are you putting for mass? 10.5 what? 10.5 grams divided by your volume. What's your volume? 10 milliliters. Good.
I don't know.
Well, is there anything that can cancel out? Is it like milliliters on top and milliliters on the bottom? No, so if they can't cancel out, we have to keep them all. So this shows grams over milliliters, right? So what do you think it should show in your answer for density?
Grams over milliliter.
Perfect. Good. You're still going to show me the numbers you're plugging in with the units. Okay? You're going to go back and find your density after?
I'm here now with 8th grade science teacher Lynn Curtis, whose class we visited today. and she's going to tell us a little bit about what exactly the class was doing while we were there.
So what was observed today was pretty typical. We try to keep a lot of our science inquiry-based. You know, I could tell them what would happen, but they're going to learn a lot more by actually physically doing it and figuring it out on their own. So what you saw today was the students were using their measuring skills. They were finding the mass and volume of different amounts of water, and then they were calculating the density. So density unit is something we just started. They have very little background information on it because I want them to kind of discover as we go. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be graphing their data, and they're going to start to realize that it doesn't matter what the mass of the water was, what the volume of the water was. Water always has a consistent density. And density is one of the key things that we use. It has a lot to do with weather patterns, science in general. It actually touches back on 7th grade curriculum and 6th grade curriculum as well. So it's kind of a fundamental skill that they should know how to find and have an understanding of. So we're just kind of starting to embark on their discovery of that.
Well, they seem very engaged in what they were doing. They seem to be, enjoying the program, really interested in it. What is the general curriculum for 8th grade science?
So 8th grade science is a mix of a few things. We do some physics, we do some chemistry, and we do a properties of matter unit, which is where we kind of build on their fundal scientific skills, which is, no matter what they go on to do, starting to think like a scientist and inquiry about the world. Those skills are going to serve them for the rest of their life. So that's something that we're trying to develop and engage them in at this level.
Okay, so it's pretty much skill oriented.
We try to make it skill oriented and inquiry based, right?
So they can become scientific researchers or something, well, if they're interested in it.
The ability to think scientifically is going to serve in almost any job market that they might be interested in going into. The ability to, question and investigate. So even if they decide not to go into the science field, that type of thinking is something that can serve many different fields.
Okay, so do you strictly teach 8th grade science?
I do just teach 8th grade science.
Wait, how long have you been here at the middle school?
I've been here at Briscoe for 7 years now.
I'm doing a good job.
Well, thank you.
Thanks so much for letting us come and interrupt your classroom today.
Oh, we enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
We're going to share our journal in a minute, so make sure you have your journal out on your desk, ready to pass in. We will then dance our vocabulary words. We're going to do Act 1, Scenes 4 and 5. That starts on page 614. We'll write our summary for those two scenes. I'll explain tonight's homework, and then we have a nice little ticket to leave. That's my plan, Stan, and I'm sticking to it. Your journal that's due today. Would anybody like to share with me what you are thankful for? Scarlett, what are you thankful for?
I am thankful for my family, for my friends, and the people around me.
That sounds so nice. I love it. And do you add extra detail to that so you can make 2 paragraphs?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Jonathan, what did you do?
I'm thankful to be alive because when I was born,
Me
I
too.
had heart problems, so if I didn't have a surgeon, I probably would have died.
Wow. I did not know that about you. The complications of childbirth. Chris?
I'm thankful for nature.
Nature? How come?
Well, because nature's kind of the base of life.
That is very deep. I enjoyed that. So is this, now I'm grateful that I don't live in Buffalo right now because nature has kind of taken over. Yes, it's slightly a little much. And let's dance. Everybody up. Uh-oh, where'd the vocab words go?
I will.
Here we go. 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do 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 do.
Are we ready? Okay, listen to the stage directions because you're all clumped right now and that might unfold pretty rapidly here. Scrooge and the Ghost of Christmas Past walk together across an open stage. In the background, we see a field that is open, covered by a soft, downy snow, a country road.
Good heavens, I was bred in this place. I was a boy here.
Make sure you face the audience. Scrooge freezes, staring at the field beyond. Marley's ghost appears beside him, takes Scrooge's face in his hand, and turns his face to the audience.
You see this, Scrooge? Striking by feeling, conscious of a thousand others floating in the air, each one connected with 1,000 thoughts and hopes and joys, and care long forgotten. This Scrooge before your very eyes returns to life among the living. You best pay your most attention, your most careful attention.
I would suggest wrapped.
I would suggest that.
There's a small flash and a puff of smoke, and Marley is gone. So you can take off your costume, put it in the back, and then come take a seat.
Goodbye. Your lip is trembling, Mr. Scrooge. And what is that upon your cheek?
Upon my cheek? Nothing. A blemish on the skin from eating overmuch grease. Nothing. Kind spirit, Christmas past, lead me to where you will, but quickly. To be stagnant in this place is for me unbearable.
You recollect the way.
Recollect?
Recollect the way.
Remember it? I know it blindfolded. My bridge, my church, my winding river.
Gathers about, trying to see it all at once. He weeps again. Scrooge is weeping. What does that show us? Oh, God.
He's human and he has emotion.
Thank you. So we thought that Scrooge was like an evil old man, but he's not. He's human and he has emotions.
Okay, well now I'm here with Jessica Legue. Did I say that correctly, I hope?
Absolutely.
Okay. Who is the English teacher for grade 7 here at Briscoe. And we saw some very interesting things going on in your classroom today. You might want to tell us a little bit about what the different activities were.
Well, we're in the middle of our drama unit, and so we're looking at the elements of drama. In preparation to see A Christmas Carol at the North Shore Music Theater, we are reading the script in class and pointing out what the stage directions mean and how we should act emotionally as we go through and trying to get in touch with the character itself. The script that we read is written by Israel Horovitz, who is a local scriptwriter from Gloucester, and he adapted Charles Dickens' version of A Christmas Carol into the play that we know and love. And so today we were on scenes 4 and 5 of The Ghost of Christmas Past, when he visits, or she visits, Scrooge, and going through that. So we started off with some vocabulary words from A Christmas Carol Act 1, and I actually like to dance my vocabulary words, so we put the words into kinesthetic movement, and so we go through. So one of the words is implored, and actually on the tape you'll see that we do a warm-up just so that we can get our bodies moving, and then it's a I say it and they repeat type of situation, and then we look for those words when we're reading. Later on we'll go more into with vocabulary, check-in, etc. We also did a journal today. Our journal was due today. It was on what are you thankful for, and we've been studying the Industrial Revolution of history in England because that's when Charles Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol, and so we tie in the nonfiction. So when we were talking about what are you thankful for, we got the regular responses, which were I'm thankful for my family, I'm thankful for my friends, but then we also linked it into, I'm thankful that at 12 and 13 years old, I'm not working in a child labor situation in England. Yeah. I'm able to have a free education here in America in the year 2015. So we linked that as well.
So your English class involves not just the piece of literature, but also the background of the time that it was written, and the kids can explore a little beyond just the story itself.
Absolutely. We look at the essential question of how does the author use history to alter his fictional piece. So A Christmas Carol is fictional, but everything that happens in it is because Charles Dickens was upset with the times that he was living in, and he was trying to make a statement.
And the kids seem very interested and involved in a very unique way of teaching vocabulary. I imagine that it sticks with them a little bit more after you've danced to a particular word,
yes.
so to speak.
I coach field hockey at the high school, and some of my girls will come back and they will do the dances still and say, I remember this word, and so they do. It does stick with them.
And also they were reading to each other. They were practicing a speech.
Yes. So part of our curriculum is speech and language, and so I have them memorize a soliloquy or a monologue, 2 terms that they also learned with our drama unit, and they are to perform that. So they need to memorize the speech, and they will perform it on Tuesday. So this morning, my do now to kind of get them situated was to have them look at that speech, read that speech to each other, to work on pronouncing the words correctly, practicing their diction, their volume, how they were going to act it out on Tuesday. And then hopefully this weekend they will memorize it.
So on Tuesday, they're going to be doing a little performing, too.
They will, yes. And then it's great because then when we go see A Christmas Carol at the North Shore Music Theater, they hear the words that they now know themselves. And when I look across the audience and when that line comes up, it's very cute because they get excited and they say, and they mouth it along with the actors on stage. So it connects with them.
So they really connected with the whole thing. That's very good. Now, is this a drama unit that you're doing?
Yes, we're in the middle of our drama unit. We just finished short stories, and we're heading into drama, and then we head into more nonfiction after that.
Well, it sounds like you have quite an agenda going on.
It is a great year.
Yeah. Well, the kids seem to be enjoying it, and you seem to be enjoying what you're doing. Is there anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. That was it.
Well, thank you very much for having us today.
Thank you.
And enjoy the Christmas Carol.
Oh, we will.
Thank you. All right. Well, we've had an exciting day.
We certainly have.
I'm tired.
It's been a great morning.
I'm here now with Mr. Matt Poska, the principal of Briscoe Middle School, and we have seen what this school is like today. And very impressive, the things that are going on. It may be an old building, but the learning that's going on here is certainly outstanding.
I'm very biased. I think I have a very talented and hardworking staff who is dedicated to what they do, and they're dedicated to supporting the needs of the students in this community. And I think that certainly you saw a lot of that in action today.
Yes, the students were engaged, the teachers were engaged, very impressive. Now we know that things are on the horizon for a new middle school. Nothing is written in stone yet, but could you tell us a little bit about what you envision maybe for the changes in the types of classes that we saw today in this building going forward to a new one?
I think there's a lot of changes coming up. Certainly the community has been very supportive of a new middle school for Beverly. We've been working with the Massachusetts School Building Association for well over a year now in preparation for the work that has to occur. Right now, the next step that we're at right now is completing our feasibility study. As part of the feasibility study, the members of the architectural firm AI3 has done a comprehensive study of various configurations of school, both on this location and over at the memorial site, to potentially see what the best possibility is for us as a community and where we're going to go. It's been a lot of work. As part of that work, there's been many staff members and people within the district who've begun a big visioning process of what the new building could be. I think one of the challenges that we have right now is we're trying to plan for a new building that we haven't even dug a hole for yet. Mm-hmm. And we're planning for education and skills for students that might not be really out in the open yet. You know, we're preparing for something to go into place hopefully in September of 2018. So we really have to have some forward thinking of what we're working for. I think the architects really said it the best of what we're looking for. We're looking to build the best middle school in the United States. And that's a very challenging and daunting task. It's overwhelming, but I think we've all taken that to heart. I think today you saw some outstanding things going on in our classrooms, and I think it's really indicative of what goes on a daily basis here at Briscoe. So some of the things that we're talking about is to taking all the good aspects and all the tremendous things that occur on a regular basis and allow our staff to do that and allow our students to experience it in a more 21st century environment where technology is easily embedded in what goes on. The classrooms are larger to make the movement around much easier. The furniture is able to be easily manipulated so we can do some more of these small group work and these collaborative skills that are part of all the 21st century learning skills that are necessary for our students not only compete here nationally but also compete in a global perspective.
Well, where do we stand right now as far as the schedule for the new middle school? You mentioned September 2018.
If we work backwards, September 2018 is ideally when we'd be opening a new building.
Okay.
Our next step to make it to bring it back is to submit a feasibility study to the Massachusetts School Building Association on November 25th.
Okay.
That is the first. That's the next step, I should say, that we have to complete as a district. That feasibility study will then go to the MSBA, who will then give us some feedback about what they're thinking about where they're supportive of building a new middle school. And again, as part of the study, as I alluded to earlier, we've had to look at various configurations. We've looked at 5-8 scenarios, we've looked at 6-8 scenarios, both at this location and the Memorial location as well. The feedback from the MSBA will kind of start to drive that process a little more, plus some of the things that we're looking to do in a new building. Talking about some of those classrooms, getting larger classrooms, allow for technology to be more easily embedded in what we're doing, to have spaces where students can work and have a lot more project-based and inquiry-based learning in a more comfortable environment. I think we saw that in many of the classrooms today, even in a science area, but to be able to do that in a really appropriate space with more space available to move around, it makes it easier for students, makes it easier for staff. So we're excited about this possibility, but it's a challenge to really envision, what are our students going to need in 2018? What are our students going to need in 2030? What are our students going to need, 25 years from now when we're in this building? Yeah. So it's a lot of work that's going into it. We've had tremendous support, not only from the staff here, but from the members of the community and from the other professionals in the district as well. So we're excited about this task.
And hopefully you'll have more reports for us going forward, because we're going to come back and pester you again and see art and music and phys ed in this building, and maybe by then you'll have a little more information for us after that meeting on the 25th.
We certainly welcome, BevCam and the Beverly community back, and I think this gives us an opportunity to really showcase the great things that occur in our building by our talented staff and our talented students on a regular basis, as well as to see this transformation as this new school comes from a conceptual idea to hopefully one of the crown jewels of middle schools in the nation. And that's really what we're looking forward to.
Well, we're looking forward to that too. Thank you so much for having us here today.
Thank you, Kathy.
This is Kathy Yapa signing off for School Spotlight.